check these out. I didn't know we had another crafts person in my family, but a few years ago my aunt gave me this, which I believe came from her great-grandfather. I was told that the blue jeans tool roll was made by the great-grandmother, and these are all old letter carving tools. And what's cool is you can actually see a lot of the heat treating, because back then they had to make their own tools. They'd get flat steel, they'd shape it, they'd make their own handle, and then they'd heat treat it. And having some basic understanding of heat treating really will give you some flexibility in your woodworking career, especially if you're a turner and you have to make a lot of your own tools. So let's talk about a few tips today. So real quickly, I've gathered some supplies. I got some peanut oil, and I'm using peanut oil because it has what they call a fairly high flash point, meaning it doesn't catch fire at lower temperatures. And I'm going to be using this to quench the steel. Cool it off really fast. I'll just dip it into it. Now some steels you can use water, or you can even let them cool in air if they're specially calibrated for that one. But today I'm just going to use oil. It's just an experiment and a demonstration. I've also got a source of heat, and I've gathered 4 16D common wire nails. I'm going to set one of these to the side. I'm going to call that my control. These other 3, I'm going to heat up with propane until they are yellow hot. I mean, just not red and glowing. I mean, I'm going to keep the flame on them until they turn a bright yellow. Then I'm going to drop them really quickly into the oil to quench them off, to cool them really fast. So, I've now got 4 nails that I've heat treated. I went ahead and pulled one more out just so that I could heat it up and just let it cool in air, nice and slow. I'll set this to the side. We'll come back to that. I got the other 3 sitting in the oil, and all of these got to the bright orange. Then I dropped them in there, kind of swirled them around so they cool off fast. And when they change back to steel colored, I let them go, and they've just been sitting there ever since. So what we've now done is we've hardened all these steel items. Now, I'm looking at these and I'm noticing as I dry them off, no carbon is coming off on my towel. So these are definitely not high carbon steel, and I really don't know what kind of steel they are. Generally, you want to use a steel appropriate for tools, but this is just giving you an overview of the hardening process. But I'm going to take one of these and I'm going to save it as the hardened nail. And we'll do some experiments in a second. So that leaves me 2 that have been oil quenched and 1 that is air drying. Now, I want you to notice something. Can y'all see the color change? We got a kind of a straw to a yellow to a brown to a purple to a blue right there. I want you to notice some of my grand relatives' tools. We got this straw color coming in towards the end over here. And then you have your purples and, blues and all the other colors coming in. And that straw color just kind of flows down. So we'll get back to that in a second. So with the 2 hardened ones, I'm going to real quickly rub off the outer layer to get some of that oxidation off so we can see the raw metal again. I'm just using some old sandpaper that I'd thrown away. So now we don't see any of that color change, it's just back to the raw steel again. So if we come back to this air hardened one, we see both straw and then the blues and purples and stuff like that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to heat each one of these up to a different level. One of them I'm just going to make a kind of a light yellow straw color, and the other one I'm going to take to straight purple. I need my vice grip, so I'm going to take out the air cooled one, just label it there. Now the color change is actually the metal oxidizing, and it oxidizes to a different colors at different temperatures. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to place the nail in there. I'm going to watch for the color. And when the color reaches the purple on this particular nail towards the end, not down here, but towards the end, I'm going to quickly quench it in the oil to stop it and cool it off at that temperature. So I basically come in about halfway on the nail. You can see it's getting kind of orange towards the base, and that color is just going to kind of slowly flow down. And when it gets to the purple at the very end, that is when I'm going to quench it. But you can see ahead of the purple it's kind of yellow. And right when it gets to the bevel, okay, you can see it flowing down. Okay, it's about purple right now. Quench it off, cool it off at that temperature. The second one, I'm going to do the same thing, except I'm going to quench it right when it turns kind of a gold, right about this end section, kind of like the end of a chisel. But as soon as it gets to light yellow on the end, I'm going to quench it. I think they call that straw color. There we go. Okay, these guys are fresh out of the oil, so let's take a closer look at what we got. You can see all the colors in them. So, did I get one to straw? Well, if you notice this one right here, it's purple right there, but right towards that tip right there, it's kind of a straw color. Whereas if you compare it to this one right here, it's definitely purple on the end. So these were heated to different temperatures. This one got hotter on the end than that one. So I'm going to put this one on the purple and this one on the straw. So now let's come back to my grandfather's chisels. Notice it's a straw color all towards the end. So he probably just held this over a flame of some kind and just kind of moved it around instead of letting the color flow down on this one until he got the temperature exactly how he wanted it. And then when he sharpened it up, that color went away. Whereas in this one right here, he obviously flowed the color down because it's purple here, and he just kind of let the color flow down into that. So real quickly, I'm going to take each one of these in order. Control, fully hardened, allowed to air cool, hardened and then heated to a purple state, hardened and then heated to a straw state, over to the grinder. I'm going to grind them back until the point is gone and we have kind of an edge right there. And I'm going to be cooling these quite often in water so that I don't heat these up while I'm grinding them. And I'm grinding them on a 36 grit wheel. So the high grit will prevent a lot of the temperature. But I can already tell this is a lot harder than that control one. Stuff that I didn't expect. Can you hear the sound difference? Cut really quickly. Barely grinding at all. Okay, so I ground the tip off of all of them. We have our control, hardened, air-cooled, the purple one, and the straw-colored one. So theoretically, each one of these should have a different characteristic. I don't know about the control. But if you harden something, basically what we did was we heated it red hot. I forgot what the state is called, but there's a specific term for it, where the atoms all crystallize and align at a certain point. If you ever want to figure out if you have reached that temperature, well, while it's red hot, if you were to touch this to a magnet, it would have demagnetized, whereas steel is normally attracted. So at that state, if you quench it really quickly, all those crystals kind of lock together a certain way. If you heat it up to that state and then let it cool down really slowly, those crystals relax. The locked together crystals are going to be really, really hard. The relaxed crystals are going to be really soft. And then when we reheat up the fully hardened one, we're kind of allowing the atoms to relax a little bit to a certain point. Purple should be more relaxed than just the straw. Now the straw coloring, from my understanding, it is now hard enough to hold an edge, but soft enough that we can sharpen it. Because theoretically, this thing right here, we can't sharpen with our tool. So I have a steel mill file. Is it even going to scratch it? A little bit. Maybe I didn't get it quite hot enough, but you can hear it's not coming off, and I don't have very much shavings coming off over here. Okay? That basically just took the color off. It didn't really take much metal off. I come over to that air-cooled one. This should be fully relaxed. Let's see. Oh, wow. This one's gripping. It's like sand. Oh, yeah. We're getting a lot of metal off. I mean, just hear the difference. This one's kind of gliding over it. And this one's soft enough that those teeth are really biting. And, oh, yeah, you can see a lot of shaving. I mean, I can see how this edge would crumble pretty easily. So let's come over to the purple setting. Oh, just listen to the difference. Hear it gripping? This one's sliding over it, but it is soft enough I'm taking a bite. Come back to that fully hardened one. I mean, it's not really taking a bite. That'd be hard to sharpen. And supposedly the straw is splitting the difference. And yeah, even between the purple, can you hear it? See if I can do them right back to back. This one has a higher pitch because it's gliding over those edges quite a bit more. So, just for fun, let's see how they bend. I got the control straight how it came from the factory. I might not be strong enough for this, but oh, yeah. Pretty easy. Let's try the hardened one. And what I'm thinking is going to happen is it's going to bend over on this end if it bends at all. Simply because that's the part that didn't get heat treated. Oh yeah, a lot tighter bend right where we heated it up. It's kind of interesting. I have a feeling this one's going to be the easiest. Oh yeah, and it bent more where we did the heating aspect. It was really soft at the end. Now purple. Oh, now isn't that unique? And now the one that we went for, the straw colored one. Let's see how it does. Ready? Huh. See, that's where I had the flame on this one. And obviously it's harder right there and there. So when we heated it up, that got to the hottest point. It was red hot there, and the heat flowed. So that's obviously where it was softest, because it got the red hot. And you can kind of tell the same thing with the purple one, because I wasn't quite sure how fast the color was going to flow down. So I heated it up a whole bunch back here, and that's where it bent. The air-cooled one, well, it got really hot, but it cooled down slowly, so I mean, it was a fairly even bend. Then the hardened one, it just bent right where I was heating it. So it's a lot harder down here and up here, and that's where the flame was. I'm not quite sure what happened there. Maybe somebody in the comments can explain that to me. But compared to all of them, the control one, which was evenly heated, it bent nice and smooth. Where all the other ones bent, where the temperature either got hottest as I cooled it, or it didn't quite reach that crystallizing state. So why is all this important? Well, it shows you that after you heat the metal up, after it's reached its optimal hardness from the factory, that you can lose a lot of its hardness. So you need to watch out when you're grinding on your chisels and tools unless they are high-speed steel, because high-speed steel is designed for those slightly higher temperatures you might find on the grinder. But if you ever see your edge turning the straw color, you know, oh, whoa, hold on really quickly. But more often than not, it's going to go so fast at that very thin piece of metal that it's going to go straight to purple. At that time, you need to back off and quench it so it doesn't get worse. You don't have to regrind past that purple. Just use it. It's just going to dull a little bit quicker. But next time you sharpen, you might watch it, and the chisel will get better and better and better once you get past that place where you've reheat treated it. Also, there are a lot of situations in woodworking, like when you make your tools. You buy the steel from places like Lee Nielsen or stuff like that for these molding planes in their softened state. That way you can actually put the shape of the molding on them. Then it's up to you to harden them and then soften them back to a state where you can sharpen it. You don't want to buy a fully hardened steel if you're having to take a huge amount of metal out of it or to create a nice shape for a molding plane. Same for turning tools. I know a lot of people that buy square stock just like this right here to make their own custom scrapers. And you can shape them the way you want, or even if you want to make something like micro hollowing tools, you can use a hex key. Just re-harden it and slightly anneal it so it's sharp enough that you can put an edge on it. That way you can make really cool turning tools out of whatever steel you have available. I also hope this lets you appreciate more the amount of effort tool makers put into their tools, because there's a lot of variables. Just a 10 degrees difference in the softening stage makes all the difference in the world whether an edge is going to be durable or it'll crumble. And getting that quality control down is a lot of times what you're paying for when you buy the higher quality tools. Or if you do the research, you can find really cool companies that are making great steel, and it's the hardening aspect that they do so well that make their tools great. That's the main reason why I bought these inexpensive Narix ones for the school. Well, I hope you enjoyed this video and maybe learned a little bit that you can apply to it. It's very basic. I mean, I was using nails. Nails aren't high quality steel, but they will work, and it showed you a good example of what happens when heat's applied to steel. And if you did like this video, please do me a favor. Like, favorite, subscribe, do all those social medias. And if you want to support us a little bit more, visit my website, wortheffort.com, where I have a lot of swag such as t-shirts, hats. I'm working on a sticker collection. I also have an online store where you can buy some of my own woodworking. So get out in the shop, be safe, and have fun. For today's bonus, I want to talk about probably one of the most underrated YouTube channels out there. And this is one of those channels that people like me and a lot of other people have flat out said that, you know, something pops up on our feed and it's from them, we stop whatever we're doing to watch it. This is Doucette and Wolfe furniture makers. I mean, they are a high-end reproduction and custom furniture maker, and they make stuff right. I mean, it is a lot of these build videos where they're not really instructing you, but if you watch it closely, how they are constructing stuff is a proper procedure. They are not cutting corners. This is some of the highest quality, high dollar furniture being built out of solid wood, proper techniques, everything. If you haven't checked them out, definitely go out, subscribe to them. It's some of the most inspirational stuff you'll see out there, and you can learn quite a bit through just a simple observation. Doucette and Wolfe. I'll put a link down below.